All right, so we just looked at the sweep NURBs. Next NURB, we're going to look at the Loft NURB. And the Loft NURB is going to kind of just put a sheet of material over several objects or a series of objects. So you can really create intricate shapes just with the shapes that you have, or use the pen tool to draw whatever shapes that you want. And again, it's dynamic so that the individual shapes themselves can be changed, and that will change the material as it's wrapped over the objects. So let me just, first of all, get rid of this subdivision surface, and I'm going to hide the sweep nub here that we made in the previous video. So let's see, we can do a number of different things here, and they can be very, very different objects. Like, for example, if I start with a star, let's say that I start with a star here. I'm going to pull this out. And then in the middle, I'm going to put in a flower. And then on the end, I'll put a circle. And then pull that way back here. Now, pull this down a little bit. And with the star object, we have an inner and outer radius. Pull those in a little bit. And I can also scale those down. Just hit S to grab the scale. Just pull that down a bit. Okay. So you have these three shapes, and it's kind of important how you align them and the distances in between. So I'm going to return to my move tool. I'm just going to kind of do this. And the order in which you put the objects into the loft is also important. So now we'll go grab the Loft Nurb and put that up at the top here. So we want to go from the star to the flower to the circle. So I'm going to pull things into the loft in that order. Star, flower comes next, and then the circle in the end. So here you can see it creates this really, really interesting shape. Something that would be really tough to make with just any tool. And look at the surfaces here, and look at how it's wrapped. And look at what it's doing. I mean, really, really intricate and pretty incredible what you can do here. And like I said, all this is dynamic, so that star on the front, if I want to, I can even rotate it. So if I were to rotate this, notice how it pulls the material over it. So, I'm pulling it in a bunch of different directions here, and you see that the material is following. Same thing for the flower. If I were to grab the scale tool for the flower and scale that up and down, you can see we can get some really, really interesting shapes with the Loft Nurb. And I was playing earlier with creating some just geometric shapes with a pen tool, and just adding those together and combining them and see what kind of shapes I can get. And you can really do a bunch of different things with this. Like, for example, if you wanted to make a glass. So let me just hide this for a second. I want to make a glass. Let's say, so we need to start off with a circle in the bottom, and maybe circles in a bunch of different radiuses and dimensions. So first circle, we want to throw this on its side. So I'm going to make that 90 degrees. I'm going to scale this down. Let's say that this is the base of the glass. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And then what I want to do is I'm going to move to the move tool, or the select tool. And I'm going to pull up a copy. So that would be like the base of the bottom of the glass. I'm going to pull up another copy, and then scale this up. So this would be the next, kind of like the bottom tail of the glass. And then another, I'm just holding down the command key to do this, and I'm dragging to make a copy. And again, I'm going to scale up. Kind of make it fluted. If you can imagine, it's going to wrap, so see what that's going to look like. And then up at the top here, I'm going to go again to make the lip, and I'm going to scale this down a little bit. And then maybe one more up in the top. And then, so now we have the outline, or kind of like, just like the basic shell. And then we did that in order, so if we just grab the Loft Nurb and pull in all those objects, it should wrap everything around. And now I have something that looks like a glass or a cup, but we can't see through the middle of it. Everything is connected. So if I select the Loft object, there is an option here to loop, and you can see what that does. It kind of punches a hole right through it. So I get, kind of like a basket shape or whatever shape. Again, it's really cool that it's doing that. And if I want to go ahead and adjust things, I can select individual segments, and like this circle here. And if I can scale that, to make it bulge out, or maybe I want to make the glass go the opposite direction. Right, so really, really dynamic, and get a lot of feedback as you're working with the Loft Nurb. So Loft Nurb is really, really powerful. If there are shapes that you can't build with regular shapes, you can certainly do it with the Loft Nurb. Next, we're going to take a look at the Bezier Nurb and see what that does.